There we go.
Hey, welcome to the podcast.
That was strange as fuck, though, because I was just using the Apple TV upstairs before I came downstairs.
Maybe it cached the entire thing you were watching.
I mean, it's possible.
I doubt it.
I do too.
I don't know. I don't. You know, Apple is on quite a few things. Apple is a black box, and literally the Apple TV is a black box. The Apple TV is literally a black box.
Very true. Notifications for other stuff going offline is delayed. They're just not rolling in.
Oh, thanks, notifications.
Yeah, but that was weird. The only thing I restarted was the AT&T modem, though, so it was obviously AT&T. Or it was coincidental that I restarted it at the time that whatever was happening upstream, fixed itself.
I was gonna say, do you have the ability to see I have, who's the other one?
Spectrum.
Yeah, they renamed. They used to be Bright House, right? Or Charter, or maybe both.
Yeah. So Charter bought Bright House, and then they rebranded to Spectrum.
Yeah, because when I'm assuming that when you rebrand like that, it's because you gotta.
Yeah, you got to get away from some bad publicity.
Mm-hmm. I assume that Bright House just got swallowed up by Charter, so there wasn't necessarily rebranding. It was just acquisition. And Charter's rebranding became because of bad name in the marketplace. Kind of like Lumen.
Yes.
How Frontier turned into Lumen, which I think is funny because of Lumen in Severance. It's spelled differently, but...
and I still haven't watched Severance. So.
At all?
Not yet.
Okay. That's okay. You should have, but oh well. No, I'm kidding.
I'll get there.
One day. Without spoilers, it both simultaneously feels like it's slow and fast. It's kind of an odd thing. So, it's certainly an interesting show. I think you'll like it because of the subject matter. But I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, it's one. The only reason I haven't started it yet is because I know it's one that Emily will want to watch as well, and so it just has to coincide with the available watching times.
For sure. I saw that you started Yellowstone.
I did.
We'll get back to that because I think there was something I was going to say that I got sidetracked with the names of things, renaming of things. Oh, yes. So what I was actually going to ask you was, Spectrum has an has an iOS app, and if you lose internet connectivity, you can use your cell connection to connect to the internet, and you can actually see in the Spectrum app if Spectrum can see your modem. So I can go into the app and reset the modem from the app in case that's an issue. Or I can go and see, hey, guess what? We can't see your modem, so maybe there is an outage in your area.
Yeah, AT&T.
Do you have that with AT&T?
Yeah, they've got something similar. The reason I didn't bother is I couldn't pull up the modem on the internal page, and I figure, well, this is the second time relatively recently that's happened. Happens a third time, and I'll be on the phone. So,
do they give you? What kind of modem?
It's not one that I recognized. So let me see if there's any branding in here. Because everything, it's an Aris. It's manufactured by Aris Enterprises.
I don't know Aris. Oh wait, Aris like the.
It used to make Wi-Fi, all the big cable modems and all. Yeah.
Oh no! Is it the Wi-Fi device that competes with Amplify that Amazon bought? Is it Amazon that bought?
No.
Aros?
No, that's Eero.
Eero, thank you. Sorry.
No, Aris is ARRIS, and they made a whole bunch of cable modems back in the day as well. So they've been around with regard to being like the ISP bridge for a long time.
Interesting. I have a completely unbranded modem that I just have the model number of EN2251. And just looking that up, it's made by Hitron Americas. Or that's the website, and it shows the modem, but it's unbranded.
Interestingly enough, if I pull up system information, it says the manufacturer is Humax. So I don't know what combination of manufacturers are involved with this device.
Yeah. What do you want to talk about tonight?
I put a couple of quick notes in just as things that either thought about or one very, very quick thing that I need to find the sound bite for, actually. So I don't have any specific real topic, and I don't know if anything specific that I necessarily want to launch into. I've focused my efforts this week on visiting the different martial arts schools to promote the app.
Oh, nice. How's that going?
We'll see.
Okay.
We're only, day 2. I've had more positive reception than I expected at a couple of them. Like, I expect a positive reception at all the jiu-jitsu schools in the area just because of me and my affiliation. But I went to 2 different Taekwondo schools. One I fully expected to just be kind of shrugged at and more or less ignored, and they actually showed a lot more interest than I would have expected. And the other one I thought might be more receptive, and they felt like they were giving more of a cold shoulder than I expected. So We'll see.
Okay, cool. I actually didn't know you were doing on-the-ground marketing.
Well, I figure if I get a little bit of traction locally, then that gives me a better starting point just from adoption. If I get any kind of penetration locally, then I just need to figure out the message non-locally.
Right. At this point now, I can see you having a booth at a tournament.
Yeah, I've considered that kind of stuff too. It all depends on kind of what happens. So I had a phone call into a guy that coaches wrestling. I'm going to see if they have any interest. On the phone, sounded interested. He said that there are kind of 2 drawbacks, though. One, most wrestlers in the area are younger, and so they're not as disciplined about tracking sessions and everything. And 2, they don't have their phones on them until sessions are over. So it all depends on kind of how dedicated they are. He said that the staff do emphasize that it's very much worth it to take notes and everything else. It said, so, maybe the presence of something on the phone instead of having to use a notebook will inspire some adoption as well. Don't know. We'll see.
Cool. I will expanding into wrestling require an update?
No.
No. Okay.
No. The currently released version is pretty much feature complete for any discipline unless there is something I've overlooked. And the one thing that I've considered adding that I didn't necessarily overlook, I just didn't consider it important. In competitions, you score points, right? And you either win or lose by submission or accumulated points over time. That makes sense. I don't have anything in there to log points because me personally, I don't care about the points. I care about whether I won or lost by submission. But I could see someone wanting to care about the points.
Oh, for sure.
I probably will add that. That will, of course, require an update, but that's just an addition to the existing data model, so it's not a big deal.
I saw in the last test flight there's an Easter egg in there somewhere, but I haven't found it.
There's been one since day 1.
Oh, I didn't know that there was even one since day. So now are there 2 Easter eggs?
Nope, just the one.
Just the one. Okay.
Would you like a hint, or do you want to keep playing?
I I'm going to need a hint because while I have played around with the app, I have to make stuff up because I don't practice any martial arts, and I'm not sure that I've seen.
There's a hidden menu that will show up with the right combination of things. And that combination of things is very straightforward. It's just what you have to actually do. So if you're looking around and you see something that's kind of odd that you can tap on, that's a pretty good indicator that there might be something more to it.
Interesting. I didn't. This is feeling very much up, up, down, down, left, right, left, right.
It's not that complex, but it is kind of that idea. It's if you tap the about the version information 7 times for 007, you open up the developer menu.
Oh, really?
Well, my developer menu is just a combination of things that I've used during troubleshooting.
Oh, yeah. Nice. That's awesome. That's really cool.
I thought it was fun.
Well, I'll keep looking around.
That's the only thing that's hidden. And I decided I would hide it just so people didn't accidentally do stuff that would, mess them up. But all of those things are things that I've used to either troubleshoot a problem or fix legacy data. And so it made sense to leave access to them if I had this odd use case in the future.
That's really cool.
And of course I could add to it. So if I end up having, like, let's just say when I add points tracking, I have some screw up where I have to do a migration step manually, then I could add that there. And then if someone happened to be on the legacy version of the data set and had some strange combination of events, then I could say, hey, do this, tap this, good to go.
I'm going to have to mess around with this and try to find your Easter egg.
Well, that was it. The menu itself was it. The combination to get there. Yeah.
Okay, I see.
So finding it was the Easter egg.
Got it.
But that's not
really
something
cool. That's really cool.
That's so... You would have to know more about my thought processes than most anybody knows to figure out how to get there.
Well, I'd say it's not obvious, but it's not obvious at all. But you saying, "Oh, hey, 7 times for this," and for 007, I was like, "Yeah, that's a good like that feels like, oh yes, this is very Jesse."
Yeah, feels on brand.
There we go.
Outside of that, like the reworking of the app has so far received positive feedback from the couple of people who've been playing with it, as far as the like restructuring things and the way I added the linkages to that technique library, the new feature. So it's I don't know, it's shaping up to be kind of what I really want it to be. I have one annoying bug that I haven't been able to figure out, and that's when you attach media to something. When you tap on the thumbnail to view it, it starts zoomed tiny. You have to just blow it up with the gesture. And each time I supposedly was increasing the starting point, it got smaller. So I stopped and said, let's release it like this. I can address this with an update.
Okay.
But that's, as far as I know, that's the only thing it's not really broken. It's just not functioning the way I want it to.
Okay.
And I figure as long as it's something aesthetic like that, I'm okay. Ship it and fix it.
Yes, because you don't want to delay somebody using it and somebody buying a copy and so forth. So yeah. It's not a show-stopping bug,
right? And it's probably not one that, like, most people aren't going to use media for basic logging. So it's going to be someone who really wants to take advantage of all that the app has to offer. And like, even I debated whether I would allow the addition of media to entries of all types or not. And I figured, well, actually, why shouldn't I? Why should I make that arbitrary decision for somebody else?
Yeah.
Outside of that, the other, you hit on one of the couple of items that I put in. I want to I want to start with this quote. Did you happen to see the opening portion of The Daily Show yesterday?
I did not yet.
Okay,
It's
so
I will, but I haven't.
So this quote, there's a segment that just, it was funny anyway, but this was verbatim what the interviewer said, and I couldn't help but do a double take. So, excuse me. The quote is,
"Why do you think young men are so overwhelmingly coming in your direction?"
and Stewart's face said it all. It's very literally because they're facing you, that type of thing, as a response. But it just, I get an interviewer that maybe is a little more amateurish, getting kind of tongue-tied and that making it, or maybe it was a live segment and, I don't know the full background, but that would have been something that I would have absolutely reworded immediately had it been a live interview or something else to hopefully catch that from being as big of a thing. But it was hilarious. So I wanted to mention it just because it's one of the few things about this administration I've been able to laugh about. And
I just got it. I just got what you why you're laughing, because I was thinking about the actual the content, like what's the answer? Why are they congregating towards? Why are they interested in his? And then I was like, oh,
yeah.
I normally catch those kind of things, but
well, I assume it's just because the internet has ruined my thought processes for anything that could even remotely be a sexual innuendo.
I mean,
and that was very overt.
Right. I think I was already there. So,
yeah.
Yes. So,
but anyway, nothing else to really say about that. I was just going to see if you happened to catch it.
No, I will watch it though now. So, I was going to watch it already, but I'm now. I'll be looking for that.
I had sent you a link to an album that we had discussed very briefly as we were kind of wrapping up last week. Did you have a chance to listen?
I have had a chance to listen to it, and I found it to be very interesting. But I haven't listened to it all the way through, even though it's a relatively short album. I guess it's maybe an EP because it's 7 songs. But I think by the time I got to the third song, I was like, because I was in the car, I was like, I want to stop and actually want to listen to this with the lyrics, where I can read the lyrics as I'm listening to it, because there was a lot of interesting things in the lyrics that seemed familiar to me, and so I didn't finish it yet. I actually thought I'd have some time this weekend to be able to get to it, but I didn't yet. So,
okay.
Actually today today was a longish day for me. Drove up to Rock City with the kids, so they.
Oh, nice.
We my sister and her family and my mom went and we saw Rock City, and we had a good time and came back, and so, I got home maybe 10 or 15 minutes before we recorded.
Okay.
So,
quite a long day then.
Yes. We left around 7:45 this morning, and after seeing Rock City, we went to lunch, and then we went to the park, and then we drove back and had dinner, and then I had to take them to their mom's house, and it was a good long day, and we had a great time. And so today, while I was in the car, I was thinking about different things that I wanted to talk about on the next show that we record, and I was like, man, I can't wait for us to record. And then I realized, oh, that's tonight. I didn't realize that a week had gone by so quickly.
Yeah, I'll back up first. I assumed that you hadn't made it all the way through because I hadn't seen any type of response anyway. But I wanted to ask that, just to, properly follow up. But two, like that, even though I always enjoy going to Rock City, I can never make myself do Rock City and skip Ruby Falls. I have to do both every time. I don't know why, but I think it's just because for the first 2 or 3 times that I visited, that was the combination. And so now it's just like, well, I can't see one without seeing the other.
Well, I mean, that's how they advertise.
Yeah.
So, we did not go to Ruby Falls. I have not been to Ruby Falls. I would like to go. I enjoyed Rock City. Now I want to go to Nakalulu Falls because I've never been there, even though it's just over the about an hour away. But yeah, today made me think. I was like, I really want to take advantage of what's available, as a day trip, and I really enjoyed today, and North Georgia is just gorgeous.
Yes.
Like just the they're relatively small mountains, because I think I looked at my watch and it put us at just under 1,300 feet above sea level. So it's not they're not large. I think what is the one Springer Mountain is the southern terminus of the AT, and I want to say it's maybe the tallest mountain in Georgia, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, I don't remember for sure off the top of my head, but that sounds right. It's been a while since I've done a lot of like day trip type of looking around, but I have a feeling we will do more of that this year than previous years, just because I haven't been able to go walk around places and it's bugging me. And so I have a feeling once I am comfortable walking any kind of distance, we'll start doing at least a handful of, hey, let's go visit here. And even if I have to, stop and sit or whatever more frequently than normal, I want to get out and do things. So yeah, I have a feeling this year will be a lot like that for us.
Yeah, I know I was totally wrong about the tallest mountain in Georgia. It's called Brasstown Bald, and it's in north of Georgia.
Around Dahlonega, right?
What's around Dahlonega?
It's around Dahlonega.
Oh.
Or no?
I'm not really seeing what it's around. So it's south of Chatooge. Is it Chatooge or Chattooga Lake? Where Hawaii? It's the closest cities near it are Hiwassee and Young Harris.
Okay.
It's due east of Blairsville as the crow flies, and it's 4,700 feet. So that's a decent sized mountain in the Appalachians. Because I don't think there's any mountain in the Appalachians that's over 7,000 feet. I think everything is under 7.
I was looking to just get rough bearings on how far from the Blue Ridge area, because I know roughly, just kind of I don't know exactly, but I do know roughly where you're talking about as far as the city names or townships. I just couldn't picture distance, and it's not far. It's so if you had from Young Harris and Blairsville, if you more or less head straight west and a little bit southwest, then you'll hit LJ, Blue Ridge, almost straight east to hit Blue Ridge, or west. Sorry, not east.
Okay, yeah.
So it's not too far.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering if it was close to Chattanooga, and it's not. It's all the way. It's much closer to South Carolina. So, for funsies, I wanted to see what the tallest mountain in the Appalachians are, and it's Mount Mitchell, which is in North Carolina, and it is the tallest peak on east of the Mississippi, and it is just under 6,700 feet. So.
And so I had to look it up. Dahlonega is closer to Springer Mountain than it is to Big Bald. So if you take Big Bald kind of southeast, you'll hit Springer, and then more southeast, and you'll hit Dahlonega.
I just guessed that Springer might be the tallest mountain because the northern terminus in Maine of the AT, is Mount Katahdin, and that's in Maine, and it's the tallest. It's the tallest. I don't know if it's the tallest peak on the Appalachian Trail, but it is. It is the tallest peak on the Appalachian Trail. So One of the things I find interesting is regional terms for the same thing. So if you have two mountains that come together, and you want to, if you're traversing them, you want to go between them because it's it's the lowest point, so that you don't have to go so high up in elevation, especially with tall mountains. And in the southeast, I've heard them referred to as a saddle, and I would expect that you've heard that term as well. And then in the northeast, they call it a notch, and out west, they call it a pass.
I didn't realize those were all different terms for the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it makes sense, certainly, but...
And my favorite term is a holler.
I'm not familiar.
You know how two mountains come together and they make kind of a... not necessarily, I say mountains. It can be a hill. It's a really small... basically V shape in the land that where the two hills, the two mountains where they meet, and it usually runs linear. You can as you face the hills or mountains or whatever, this shape runs linear. This V shape runs linear along the land, usually going upward, upward downward, and it's called a holler. And I heard the term in Tennessee. And the reason it's called a holler is because you can holler down that bit of geography, and your voice will carry a bit better. Or at least that's the assumption.
It's at least the folklore tale.
Yeah.
Yeah. It does make sense, though. Just, acoustic.
Yeah. So anyway, so we had a good time, and I'd like to go do a bit of camping in North Georgia. I think it would be nice, and I think we've talked about what is the small canyon in North Georgia?
Providence Canyon.
Yes, it is. So it looks delightful.
Also referred to as the Little Grand Canyon by locals.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I'm a sucker for any sort of mountains, even the little ones, and rock formations. I love them, and I love that. One of my favorite facts about the Appalachian Mountains is that they were much higher than the Himalayas prior to the last ice age. They're now smaller mountains because a glacier just scraped them down.
Yeah, I just don't have a good... I mean, I enjoy that fact as well, but I don't have anything to follow that way.
Well, we can segue into what I mentioned earlier was that you had started Yellowstone, and because there's mountains in that show, and I'll tell you that the scenery, the cut scenes between scenes and acts is beautiful. It's just it never gets old in that show.
Yeah, so I have only finished the first episode. It started off sluggish enough that I questioned whether it was something I could row to. Because the first part of the first episode I watched during one rowing session, and it's like I might have to come up with an alternative and just watch this separately. It wasn't that I wasn't enjoying it. It was just, if I'm exercising, I need something ever so slightly more fast paced. And but by the time the episode finished, it was fine. I had no issues with it. So I have a feeling it'll be one of those that I'll be fine to row to, just now that I at least kind of know what types of things I can expect. And the story has at least started to establish something of interest to help keep the maybe slower pieces feel less slow. So should be fine. But I haven't gotten deep enough to really have an opinion yet, other than I enjoyed the first episode.
I'm trying to remember what, it's been so long. I'm trying to remember what happened in the first episode. I feel like I remember.
The first one was very much centered on establishing that Kevin Costner's character exerts control over everything in different ways. And so the primary issue was the cattle had wandered across to reservation land, and the new leader for the tribe. I don't know what his official title would be, I guess.
I think it's tribal president, maybe.
Sounds right. But he was trying to assert himself as well, and one of the Dutton children gets shot in the attempt to get the cattle back, and the, for whatever reason, estranged son, you start to kind of understand more of his story. And I don't know if estranged is even the right word. It's just kind of what it, like self-estranged seemed maybe more accurate, but I haven't gotten far enough into that story yet to know.
Interesting. I do want to say these are not spoilers, but real-time follow-up, it's Chief Thomas Rainwater. That seems so obvious now that it would be Chief.
Yeah.
So, I was going to say a recurring character that I don't know what season she shows up in, but after I watched the whole show, I was reading some stuff and I found out it's Michael Landon's daughter.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I thought that was really cool. And then another character is portrayed by an actor that was in Tombstone, the 1993 Tombstone. So
I was just running through my head real quick all the faces from the first episode, and
I never recognize. No, I never. I think he's. I would expect that he's in the first episode, but after watching 5 seasons, I never recognized him. It was I read about it and I was like, oh, okay. I don't remember him being in Tombstone.
Yeah, I'll have to watch and see if I ever catch it. I doubt it. Sometimes I will catch one of those, but we'll see.
And I think the last time I had mentioned the show, I couldn't remember the actual name of the ranch, and I was paying attention to it, and it is the Yellowstone Dutton Ranch. That was the official name on the signs.
Yep.
Yeah,
the branding of the people associated was an interesting touch.
Are you talking about the actual branding, like the brand
yeah.
cow?
Yeah.
Okay. Just making sure. Yes, that was interesting.
I have heard about that being a thing, though, so it's not surprising either. But it's an interesting way to help with the narrative, also.
Yeah, there's some stuff that I find interesting that we can talk about later as you approach it, because I don't want to do anything that would give that would be a spoiler, unless you've already watched it and we say this is a spoiler on this show, so that folks can pause and go finish and catch up or whatever, or not care. So
yeah, I think at this point, like even I would say that if something is spoiled for the first couple of seasons, it's my own fault for not catching it faster.
So I don't remember if I said this or not. You can stop me if I did, so that we don't repeat myself for listeners here. But when I was trying to, my mother-in-law has Paramount Plus, and I've watched some things on there. I watched 1883 on there, and I started 1923, and I was assuming that I know that I mentioned this last week, but I was assuming that the second half of Yellowstone would show up on Paramount Plus as each episode aired, and it never did because of the complex contract that Peacock has for the rights to Yellowstone. So I was like, oh man. And so I wanted to look something up about the show that was not in the second half of the 5th season. And as I was looking it up, I accidentally came across a whole bunch of spoilers. And I was like, well, shoot. And so I thought, okay, well, I guess that got spoiled for me. But, still going to watch it because I want to. And it turned out I watched it, and the spoilers were all wrong. They didn't quite have them right. And so maybe it was that I was getting bad information, or because it's like somebody wrote this article about it right after one episode aired, and hey, guess what? What they made it appear like wasn't actually the thing. So
it's nice when it works out that way.
Yeah, I was like, oh, I thought this was a spoiler, and guess what? It wasn't. So, but even so, it was something that was revealed in that episode. So, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot. So,
I don't know why in my head I was thinking it was set a little bit further back time period wise than it is.
because they are all over the place with some time period things. So,
And maybe why.
just like
Maybe I saw, one or two like clips somewhere and just had the wrong impression.
um, I do know. So I do know that there are. At some point, there are for the characters in the show. So it's interesting because it's like, okay, they started this show, and it was kind of an under the radar show, and it got really popular, maybe a season or two in, and um, and I'm not sure if it got popular because it got put on Peacock streaming. I'm not sure. I don't know exactly how it happened. But it got very popular enough to afford Taylor Sheridan the ability to buy a massive ranch, like maybe one of the biggest ranches in Texas, maybe one of the biggest ranches in the United States, and it's kind of like he's got he could I think he could practically do anything that he wants to because kind of like George Lucas after Star Wars, and because he's got at least 5 spin-offs and other shows. So I didn't realize until I read this, but he was on Sons of Anarchy as an actor, and it wasn't going. His acting wasn't going well. So he was like, I don't think he cared for if I remember correctly from what I was reading, he doesn't really care for the Hollywood elite, and so he was like, well, I'm going to try my hand at writing, directing, and that has served him quite well.
Do you know who he played in Sons of Anarchy?
I don't, because I haven't seen that show, but
I just wasn't sure if it was somebody they killed off early.
probably.
It would make it, or it could have just been someone who was not a main character at first as well.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm scrolling through to see if I could see, but where does Sons of Anarchy take place?
I think it's California.
It is California.
It's certainly,
okay.
If not, it's got to be California.
Okay. Taylor Sheridan was Deputy Chief David Hale.
Okay.
But see, now it makes me kind of want to watch Sons of Anarchy for a completely different reason. I mean, Sons of Anarchy was already on my list of shows to watch. I've heard it's good, but there's actually a few different reasons I want to watch it. And finding out that he was on the show, just added to it. But I think somewhere along the run of Yellowstone, I think he exhibits a bit of catharsis with dealing with a biker gang in that show. It was amusing.
I can imagine it being useful just as a general storytelling mechanism to like leverage some of that. How would you phrase it? Like just being able to leverage the familiarity with another character that exists without stepping on toes.
Oh no, I think he stepped on toes.
That also wouldn't surprise me, but
so it's interesting how he portrays. So he often can't, he has several he has a cameo, not just a cameo. You could say that he's guest starred on various episodes of Yellowstone, and same character playing this, portraying the same character, and in that show, he absolutely presents himself as an asshole with a heart of gold, and I am not entirely sure it's that far from the truth about who he is as a person in life. So, at least my best guess is he's an asshole with a heart of gold. But then his portrayal, the character he portrays in 1883 is a historical figure from the time that is well revered, and so he chose to portray that role, and I find that interesting as well. I think that's what an asshole with a heart of gold would do when given the opportunity.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Also in 1883, Tom Hanks and I am blanking on his wife's name, and I'm Rita Rita Wilson both have cameos, and Tom Hanks has a cameo, and Rita Wilson has a small guest character or guest appearance. I thought that was pretty cool.
And that's all I had to say about that.
So, I guess the Apple tech news sphere has been buzzing about the delay of the Good Siri. And I was listening to that, and I was just thinking about that was kind of why I made that comment to you. You said your MacBook Pro wasn't getting on the internet, and I was like, maybe you should maybe you should let Siri know. But I felt like I had more thoughts, and as I'm sitting here trying to talk about my thoughts, they're not as well formed as I had initially thought. But anybody want to raise their hand?
Well, I think it's interesting because I haven't paid attention at all. Like I've seen the headlines, or at least a couple, so I know that that's a lot of discussion that's happening, and I don't know. A lot of me just didn't care. It's like I already don't leverage Siri for much of anything, and I'm not really chomping at the bit to add any of those workflows or features. So it's almost kind of a like go away and just leave me with my dumb stuff type feeling.
I think that's probably most people.
Yeah, I do very much get the impression that I, for once at least, am not in my early adopter camp like I'm used to being.
See, Siri has been so not just underwhelming, but just unusable forever since October of 2011. It's been so unusable that I was looking forward to having a conversational Siri. Now, even I've seen, I don't know which app, but I've seen people talking to their AI assistant, and I've had many text conversations with ChatGPT, and love that it passes the Turing test. And I was looking forward to Siri being able to pass the Turing test, and it was rumored to be in the 0.4 release of whatever iOS we're on right now, which is around this time of year. It wasn't demonstrated. It was just presented, and like, this is what, Apple presented a Siri that would do various things. A lot of it for computers, difficult contextual processing of information.
Am I incorrect in thinking that they specifically broached it as a more personalized Apple Intelligence and not a more capable Siri? Or did they brand it as both?
It's been a while that I don't remember.
Okay. In my head, and the only reason I interrupted is because in my head, I remember something very specifically about Apple Intelligence is going to start with this, and it will become more personalized. And I just don't recall Siri specifically being mentioned.
I think Siri was specifically mentioned, and I think it was going to culminate in Apple Intelligence, the ability of Apple Intelligence underlying the ability, what Siri would be able to do once it was released.
So it was supposed to be like an extra step past the more personalized Apple Intelligence.
Yeah, well, I think I think the intention, as best I can remember, the way to get a more personal AI assistant was to invoke it through Siri. And I believe that's why they added the feature of being able to type to Siri, the way that you could type to ChatGPT or any other AI application that you have on your device.
Makes sense, because generally speaking, like once you start talking about something being more personalized, I kind of tail off. Like I don't care anymore because it's been so bad. Like I don't like the suggestions. If I wanted the suggestions, I would go turn the feature on. I don't want things randomly added to my calendar as a suggestion. I mean, if I book something, I put it on the calendar. Like, I don't need an extra thing also suggesting it on the calendar. There are things like that that make it more of a friction point or more of an annoyance to me because I don't have a desire to change my workflow. And I don't have a desire to change my workflow because it's not consistent. That's a nice way to put it. It's not reliable.
I think there's a couple things here. I'm the same way. I don't need that. I don't mind that you're showing it to me most of the time. I don't mind, but it's not something I was asking for. But I think a lot of people do want that. I think a lot of people don't have their workflows. I don't think a lot of people have a good solid workflow. And I think young people are in a place where they are a lot more fluid and, they type on glass and they're okay with it. And it is a thing that is going to be expected. So I understand it needs to happen, but, again, it's been 13 and a half years since we got Siri. And, when it was initially released in 2011, it was stated to be in beta, and it just doesn't feel like it's ever come out of beta. It still feels like a beta service or a beta feature. And like I said, I wanted to have a conversational Siri, which it never has been. And I could download some other, I could download Gemini. It's available on iOS. It's free. But I wanted it to be Siri. I wanted to use a first-party feature. So I'm a little bit disappointed in it, but not surprised. And I think, one of the things that came with this was there's a reorganization within Apple so that now it looks like this is now going to be under Federighi and whoever, I don't remember what his title is, but basically as high as you go for the Apple Vision Pro is now going to be running the team under Federighi.
I think that just makes sense.
It does.
I'm more surprised that he didn't have oversight over it to begin with.
So some of what John Gruber talked about on the most recent episode of the talk show was that I think actually what he said was he thinks that this was like a bit of a win of a turf war for Federighi. So we'll see. But don't expect the new Siri for, as Apple said, in the next year. So does that mean 2025? Does it mean did the clock reset for another 365 days when they released that press release a few days ago? I think it's intentionally vague. And so we'll just have to deal with the ambiguity.
I think that gives me more hopes for it being a better feature. Like as I was talking about my gripes, I realized my biggest gripe is that if it's an intelligent assistant, it should be able to learn my preferences and fit itself into my workflow. I shouldn't have to change my workflow to adopt it. And that's been my consistent annoyance.
This is where, I feel like some of what Apple Intelligence brings has been that for me. And like when I see my emails or I see my text messages, I see the summaries and I'm like, I never, even before there were any reports of some issues with summaries, I always treated summaries as that's something I need to verify. I know it shouldn't be that way. I know that they weren't intending for it to be that way. They were intending for summaries to actually be something that you didn't have to verify, but I never expected not to have to verify it, and that's just maybe the nature of who I am. I'm just too controlling of a person to not have that expectation, so I was never disappointed by that. But I really appreciate how summaries appear at the top of my emails, especially when I haven't, when I've neglected my emails and I have like 500 new messages in my inbox. Those summaries have actually been helpful for me to, I actually need to go look at this right now. Because there's some days I'm at inbox 0, and there are other days when, like right now, I think I have, I know it's over 500 unread messages. So it's going to take me 10 minutes to go through them and just to know what's in there that's important and delete the rest. But and then that's how I get there, is because I know it's only going to take me 10 minutes and nothing in there is pressing. I know nothing is in there is pressing. So
I do like even though the summaries are not good most of the time, I do like them because they give me keywords about that's what is in this conversation thread, and I want to go ahead and look at it now, or it serves the purpose that I think it was meant to serve for me, which is a level of visual triage where I don't have to actually go look at each one completely until I'm ready. Then again, I also don't have near the issue with that as I used to anyway. So
I will say that I had one other thought about Apple Intelligence, and that was it's not replacing any other AI that I've been using, at least not yet. The rewrite feature, or the writing tools in general, they are not robust. I've used them for simple things because it's more convenient than putting something into ChatGPT. Whereas if I want, I have mostly used this with posts on social media, and that is, I know I've mentioned in either the last few episodes, somewhere in there I've mentioned that I've asked ChatGPT to rewrite something that I wrote in the voice of Ambrose Bierce and got a good kick out of that. And I've also recently had something I was like, hey, I actually want you to write this in the voice of Pete Buttigieg, because I thought that would be fun, and I liked I liked the results I got there. I don't think you can do that with the writing tools and with Apple Intelligence. If you can, it's not obvious, and so it just hasn't been. I'm not compelled to try to figure that out. So while I don't need it to go, I'm happy that it's there. I use it sparingly. I've actually used Jinmoji a couple of times. The image I sent to you, or I used an emoji to respond to the troubleshooting you were doing right before we started recording, and that was a Jinmoji.
I find my issue with the image playground stuff and all is that it's not what it was promised to be.
I don't think I've even used Image Playground.
So the way Image Playground was built is that it was essentially an AI image generator for whatever came to mind. It would be somewhat cartoonish, but still an image generator. Everything that I've told it to generate looks like the same basic thing. It's just like if you tell it to generate a cat or something, it'll be however many different versions you generate that basically look identical with just really, 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 really subtle differences. And it's like, this isn't what I want. Like, if I want a cat juggling, you can't do it because that combination of keywords claims that it's not something it can do or whatever. Or it's not appropriate, or I don't know. I can't remember the message off the top of my head, but
I've seen some of those messages. You basically get a no.
Yeah. For pretty much anything other than the most basic of items. And it's like, oh, what good is this? Now, we'll say what little bit I played with the Jinmoji has been better, but I don't think that falls in the same category.
No, I wouldn't call it the same category. And I think right now it's just, what you're saying about Image Playground. It's like Siri. It's the same, it's Siri again.
Except it's not. Like, Siri at least had the promise of being semi-useful, whereas Image Playground is complete garbage.
Well, I'd argue that right now Siri is complete garbage. And
see, I would argue that Siri at least has something functional. You can set a timer, assuming it interprets your voice correctly.
Maybe.
You
can't set two. Well, I don't know. For the longest time, you couldn't set two timers. And,
I actually took a picture of the watch where I had two that I started via Siri. I meant to send that to you. But it doesn't work well, and it has rendered my two HomePod Minis paperweights for the past year and a half because I just got tired of dealing with it. But there's still, like, when it works, there's still a functional element of it works for a purpose. I can't see where Image Playground is worth even having. Like, you can do better image generation with any third-party tool on the market, hands down. And it's going to give you some variance in results, and it's going to give you whatever fucking result you ask for, instead of, nope, can't do that.
Yeah, well,
Like, that's my kind of comparison. Like, it's not that I say Siri is good, it's just that for those people it works for, or those instances it works, it actually serves a purpose.
well, I was just gonna say, I think the reason I was thinking that they are the same in this regard is that there are certain things that Siri should have been practically 100% flawless on day one, and it wasn't even ready on version 2, version 3, version 4, and beyond. And I think Image Playground is the same way. There are certain things that it should be able to do flawlessly on day one, and it doesn't, and that's why I compare it to Siri.
I would be okay with that comparison. Like, from a,
it's just not the way you would describe it.
right.
Right,
Yeah,
and that's fine.
And it's just a different level of comparison.
Yes.
That's it.
It's apples to oranges. That never gets old. So the
Granny
other thing
Smith
I wanted
to Red Delicious.
yeah. Honeycrisp is my favorite that I can find on a regular basis. Still would like to get those Cosmic Crisp again. Did we talk about the M3 Ultra? I cannot remember.
I don't think so. I mean, if we did, it might have been relatively minimal at the time.
I thought I found it interesting that that they released that, and there's nothing I really have to say. Nothing I if folks want to know more about it, there are plenty of Apple centric tech news podcasts that you can listen to, and they pretty much covered it. But I just the thing that I went past was, like, there was no update to the Mac Pro, and I wonder what they're going to do to the Mac Pro. And then I got to thinking, it doesn't really matter because I don't need one, or would ever justify buying one in my current state. But I did think, if I did buy one, I would buy a rack mount one, and I'd buy a desk like yours and rack mount it to the desk.
I would probably do the same.
That just seems like a lot of fun.
I wonder if I could find an X-Serve.
But that would be too deep, yeah?
Well, it'd be too deep for the top, but it would not be too deep for the bottom.
Okay. Huh.
But man, would that be loud.
It would be. There's a YouTube channel, Linus Tech Tips.
I think I've seen some of their stuff. I mean, it's not immediately ringing a bell, but it sounds vaguely familiar.
I'll see if I can find this video, but I did watch a video where he did get some Xserve computers and was messing around with them. So it was interesting. I actually don't remember much about what he did with them, but I think he had 3.
Yeah, I don't know that I would actually want to mess with them now, just given what you could do. Like, you could cluster 2 or 3 of, like, the 2013 Mac Pros and have a far more powerful setup than dealing with a cluster of 3 or 4 of the last generation Xserves. And I'm willing to bet the Xserves would cost you a pretty penny.
Yeah, I actually wonder if Apple will so first of all, I think it's good. I think Apple does need to continue developing, trying to make the biggest, most powerful chips that they can to put in the Mac Pro. There was a room, and I this drives me fucking crazy, but nobody has used Ultramax to describe 4 Max Pros put together. There's rumors that have been about for years now that the biggest chip that Apple would make and put in one of their computers would be basically 2 Ultras put together, which is 2 Maxes put together. And nobody has. I've heard someone call it the extreme. I think John Syracuse calls it the extreme, and I'm like, no, it is the Ultramax. How does everyone miss that this is the Ultramax? And it disappoints me so. So anyway, I think at this point, I think that Apple will continue developing this and continue developing it at least for no other reason that it is needed in house, and they'll sell it to the public because why not recoup? It's not going to cover R&D expenses, but it'll recoup something, and something is not nothing. And anyway, I think that they'll continue doing it because, especially as their Apple Intelligence features broaden and they do more and more compute in the cloud and they want to do it privately, they're going to need the service to do it. And those are, I have to imagine that they are intending to use their own devices for that.
You would think so. I do wonder at what point does it become less effective to use something else that you can run just a massive Linux cluster on. And I mean, maybe that's not necessarily the answer either, but it's, I guess the big driver would be power per watt. And that would be where you can make the case that it would make more sense for Apple to invest in its own IP instead of leveraging stuff off the shelf.
I don't even think you need to make that case because it can be a matter of, it can be a point of pride. It's like,
well, I mean, I don't want to make it sound like it couldn't be a whole number of different things. I was just thinking from a purely practical standpoint. Like, let's just say that it takes you 5 years to get to a point where you're running a supercomputer cluster that is twice as powerful as what you could put together now. But the real claim to fame is that it uses a third of the power, or something.
Oh yeah,
ridiculous like that. Like, that's a real easy thing to point to and say, you know what, just because we need to invest in this because it will make it positive for us and everything else. But also, if we do it this way, then we can really focus in on certain other needs, like the T2 chip for security and all that. There are other ancillary reasons that you can make arguments that it makes more sense for Apple to do it in-house. What I was getting at more, though, was at what point does it make more sense to go ahead and implement certain things with whatever you have as a massive cluster, and then replacement is later kind of low-hanging fruit for whenever you get around to it, instead of really pushing forward from an aggressive development cycle now. And I mean, nobody other than somebody internal could answer those questions anyway. It's just kind of an interesting thought experiment to think about how you would prioritize those things.
See, I've got to imagine there's a faction within Apple that are diehard Mac Pro fans, and I mean it in the sense of we need the most powerful computer you can get because it makes a it makes a significant difference in our not just day-to-day work, but hour-to-hour things that we're working on. And that faction, I think it's getting more and more control. And I can see that being, I can see them making the case, every possible case in which to make that a reality. And I think, the use of Apple Intelligence is just another big pro on their case of like why we should continue developing the Mac Pro and why we should continue trying to make more powerful chips, and why we should make a form factor that houses the most powerful chip and no other form factor does. I think that's a faction within Apple, and I think it's, while it may not be big, I think it will be strong and gain more and more power.
I hope so.
Yeah.
It's. I think So it's difficult, right? Because on the one hand, I certainly hope so. It would be beneficial across the board for the brand to kind of go back to the full level of control, or maybe even gain more control over its own products than it maybe ever had. They're certainly more control than they've had during the Intel era partnership. You could debate how much control they had over Motorola with the PowerPC stuff and all, kind of similar to how the ARM architecture afforded them more control in general. But like, even without going down that rabbit hole, like, part of me absolutely says, yes, I agree. My big concern is how much it means for the ongoing stinginess at the opposite end. Because it's not separated. Like, part of the stinginess at the other end is to help recoup some of those costs. Otherwise, you wouldn't be shipping a computer with such horrific specs for memory and storage and cost so much to upgrade them. I mean, it's just, those are part of the same problem. And so that's the only reason I hesitate to say I agree.
While it's part of the same problem, I think internally, I think the faction that fights for the Mac Pro, if they are able to get significant power gains or through significant the same compute level with much less or much more efficiency. You say, we fill these with data centers. We're going to need to fill these with data centers for everything. And now that we are, going to do private cloud compute for AI, we have to use these to, this is in line with our carbon neutral position that we're trying to get in the next 5 years. So, yeah, I think that's I would expect that to be a large part of the story, because if those things are possible, I think within Apple, those who are not a part of this Mac Pro faction, I think that's where you get Tim Cook's buy-in. Tim Cook is like the dad who he's like the loving dad that if you explain to him in the way that he needs to hear it, he'll write the check. We have a number of different ways set up for you to get in touch with us to provide feedback, ask questions, or just comment in about something we've discussed.
You can hit us up on Twitter or Instagram at untitled_hosts, or shoot an email over to untitled.hosts@gmail.com.
Or get in touch directly with Jesse at jthart.com, or get in touch with me, John, via telepathy.
If you would like to support our work or are interested in listening to our new after-show feed, head over to patreon.com/theUntitledPodcast and take a look at the options we have set up.
Thank you for listening.
We hope you've enjoyed the show.
And we hope to connect with more of you as we continue this journey.
That's a wrap.